Well, there's the block I was just filming. That's the '05 grafting, and then here is the 2011 grafting. And what I was starting to say about the contract growers, the wineries contract with these guys to grow a certain amount, and they get overproduced on one variety, and they start grafting in something else that's more profitable, that's making that they're able to sell the wine more easily. And this particular time, when Matt called me, he said he had 20 acres to do, and then he called back and said, well, the winery decided they would go ahead and take part of the mill back, I believe it is, and they wanted to keep another 5 acres of it. So we're only doing 15 acres this year, but that's how that works. It's like the apple thing, you get overproduced in one variety. And, you know, I started grafting, they were just starting to work over, just starting to put on Chardonnay. Chardonnay was very popular, so we were grafting out the old white varieties, the old Chenin Blancs, and putting in a lot of Chardonnay. And since then I put on a lot of Pinot too, but mostly Chardonnay. And then now in the later years it's a little bit, it's changed a little bit. There's some other varieties that have come along, but we still do some Pinot. Don't do much Chardonnay anymore. There's plenty of that in California. Okay, I have sat under that tree over there and cut a lot of signwood for that whole field back there. All right, out of here. I'm gonna go find a cell phone signal up on top of one of these hills. See ya.
And so begins the process. First, the vines are cut down and pulled off the wire. They're tied onto the wire with green tying tape. It's pretty tough stuff, so you kind of have to yank them loose first on that wire and then cut the vine off and drag it away from the wire. Throw the canopy to the center so that it can get mowed up, and they go through and mow that up before we do the grafting, so we're not tripping over that. And there's my man Victor. He's lifting that catch wire, cutting the vines, and he's got a technique where he grabs that cordon and he pretty much rips that tape loose from the wire. What a guy. And that's how that's done. You just walk that steep hillside over and over. Man, that hillside steep as a cow's face. Now that outer shaggy bark has to come off the vine because that provides a cushion if you tie the tying tape on there, the grafting tape that we use to tie the grafts. And plus, like I mentioned, you don't want any of that trash to fall down into the receiving slot. So that has to go, and that's the next step. You send the whole crew through and do that stripping. And then the graft wood has to be cut up, cut length, cut the tendrils off so they don't get hung up and snag on the pieces as Victor picks them up to make the graft, make the cuts. Now 25,000 of those we need. And here comes the crew down the row, and that's Victor's oldest son, Victor Jr. in front. He's worked with me for about 10 years, and he was good enough to take a couple days off work and so he could help through the weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He's cutting the receiving slots in the vine, and then Victor's making the cuts on the signs and passing them to his other son, Jorge, and he's placing the grafts in those the signs in those receiving slots that his brother's cutting. So a little crew like that, 7-man crew. There's 2 tyers and 2 painters behind them. A little 7-man crew can, knock out 2,800 vines or so in 10 hours. And when I'm doing larger jobs like 300 acres, 300 or 400 acres or whatever, I would have probably 6 of those crews up and running. At one point, I did 800 acres for Gallo, but they had, we were doing rootstock. We were not top working. This is called top working, where you cut the existing vines down and graft onto them, but They had planted out rootstock, and then we came in and did what's called a chip bud process onto the rootstock. But I had 50 people on the payroll for 6 weeks, and that was a little over $5,000 a day going out. Well, quite a bit over, about $6,000 a day, I guess. And that's a little scary. If it rains and you're paying motel bills and you're not out there making money, it can kind of go backwards in a hurry. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and scoot this up a little bit. And that's the hardest part of the job, is making those receiving slots. So the hardest part to learn. And it's a tough job anyway, bending over all day like that. Some people don't like to touch their toes 2,800 times a day. Great bunch of guys, I'll tell you. They're proud to be working with them. And there's Victor, my hero. And this will show you that receiving slot, how he makes that cut and opens it up. And Victor cuts 2 signs at a time, passes them to George, and now that one he graded out. You see that he dropped one, it was a little too small, so we grade the wood as we cut it. We grade it again in the field, and he's going to insert those into the slots, put the tip out a little bit, and rock it back so you see some white wood, and then you know you crossed the cambium. And then the guy's going to come by, Rudy's going to slap some tape on there. He's one of my Washington guys and pretty good rapper. You got to be pretty quick to keep up with those guys. It's like a little assembly line going down the row. Nice tie off there. Kind of like rodeo, isn't it? And these guys are some of the best painters I've ever seen. I mean, they really do a good job. They're thorough. They get those tips every time, and gets the backside really good. That's the place that guys usually miss, is that backside. Good job, guys. And just looking back across the field, can't tell how steep that hillside is in the video, but man, that was tough. You'd almost slip out from under you coming down that hillside. And the crew's over there in the final rows, gonna get it finished up. And there you have it, 15.7 acres, 806 vines per acre. Pinot Grigio converted over to Cabernet Sauvignon in April 2013. And amen, and may the force be with you. Save your Confederate money. The South's going to rise again. See you back in Washington. Bye.